What if the teacher who taught you to embrace your truth was suddenly punished for living it? What if society forced a man to choose between his career and the man he loved? What if one student's quiet courage could turn a career-ending scandal into the beginning of real change? Micah Reynolds stood at the front of room 214 at Lincoln High in suburban Portland, Oregon, the late afternoon sun pouring through the windows and casting long golden shadows across the desks. At 32, he still looked like the kind of teacher students remembered years later, tall, lean, with kind brown eyes, and a quiet voice that somehow made every kid feel seen. For 6 years, he had been the homeroom advisor, the one who stayed late to help with college essays, listened to breakups, and quietly slipped lunch money to anyone who needed it. No one knew the secret he carried like a second heartbeat. That secret had a name: Alex, his partner of 3 years, a software engineer who lived 30 minutes away in the city. They met at a book club, never spoke of their relationship at school, and Micah had grown used to the careful dance of half-truths. Until last week. During a routine class discussion about identity in literature, a senior had asked the question that cracked everything open. "Mr. Reynolds, do you ever feel like you're pretending to be someone else just to fit in?" The room went still. Micah looked at the 23 faces waiting for an answer, and something inside him simply refused to lie anymore. "Yes, I do," he said, voice steady. "Because I'm gay." The words hung in the air like the first drop before a storm. A few students nodded, some looked shocked, others smiled small private smiles. Micah felt lighter than he had in years. But lightness never lasts when the world is watching. By the next morning, the school board had received 17 emails. Parents demanded a meeting. The principal called Micah into the office, and the phrase, "disciplinary action," landed like a fist. Ryder Callahan sat 3 rows back in that same homeroom, the 18-year-old who had won every writing contest the school offered. He had watched Mr. Reynolds say those words and felt his own chest tighten with recognition. Ryder had known he was gay since he was 14, but the knowledge lived in a locked box at home, where his father preached Sunday sermons and his mother kept a spotless house that had no room for questions. That night, Ryder lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment. Mr. Reynolds had risked everything for honesty. Ryder wondered if he would ever find the strength to do the same. The school board meeting was set for Friday. Micah spent the week writing lesson plans as if nothing had changed, while Alex held him at night and whispered that they could move if it came to that. Micah shook his head. "I built a life here. I'm not running." On Thursday, Ryder submitted his entry for the National Young Writers Award, an essay titled "The Unspoken Hero." He had written it in secret after school in the empty classroom while Mr. Reynolds graded papers across the hall. The piece was about a teacher who taught courage without ever saying the word. Ryder signed his name and hit send before he could change his mind. Friday arrived gray and cold. Micah walked into the boardroom wearing the same blue tie he wore on parent-teacher nights. The accusations came fast: inappropriate influence, moral example, harmful to students. He answered every question with calm dignity, but inside, he felt the ground shifting. When the meeting ended, the superintendent told him he was suspended pending investigation. Ryder stood outside the door, having waited 2 hours. He watched his teacher walk out, shoulders straight, but eyes tired. In that moment, Ryder understood the story he had submitted was no longer just words. It was a promise. The suspension notice appeared in every local newspaper by Monday. "Popular teacher faces discipline after coming out," the headline read. Micah's phone buzzed nonstop with messages, some supportive, most not. His own mother in Florida sent a single text. "We always knew something was different. Praying for you." The words stung more than the school board's verdict. At home, Alex tried to keep things normal, cooking pasta, pouring wine, but Micah could see the worry lines deepening around his partner's eyes. "If they fire you, we'll figure it out," Alex said. Micah nodded, but the thought of leaving Lincoln High felt like abandoning the kids who still needed him. Meanwhile, Ryder's house had become a battlefield. His father had seen the news and connected the dots. "You spend too much time with that man," he growled over dinner. Ryder kept his eyes on his plate. Inside his head, the essay he submitted was growing heavier every day. The National Young Writers Award results were due in 3 weeks, and he had received the confirmation email that his piece had advanced to the final round. At school, the hallways felt different. Some students avoided Micah's empty classroom, others left notes of support taped to the door. Ryder volunteered to organize them, collecting messages from freshmen who remembered Mr. Reynolds, helping them through panic attacks, and seniors who credited him for college acceptances. He worked quietly, turning the pile into a thick binder. One afternoon after practice, Ryder slipped into the school library where Micah was packing the last of his personal books. "Sir, I know this isn't my place, but I wanted you to see something." He slid the binder across the table. Micah opened it, and his eyes misted over at the first page, a crayon drawing from a 7th grader that read, "You made me feel safe." They sat in silence for a long minute. Then Ryder spoke the words he had practiced. "Your honesty gave me permission to start thinking about mine. I'm gay too, and I'm scared, but I'm not running either." Micah looked at the young man who had always reminded him of himself at that age. "Then we both keep standing, Ryder, even when it hurts." That night, Ryder told his mother in the kitchen after his father had gone to bed. She cried but hugged him and whispered, "I love you no matter what." It was a small crack of light in a heavy door. The following week, the school board announced a formal hearing. Micah prepared his statement while Alex booked a flight home from a work trip to be there. Ryder kept writing late into the night, revising his essay one last time before the national deadline. He titled the final version, "The Man Who Taught Me to Stop Hiding." The national competition results arrived on a Tuesday that smelled like rain. Ryder's phone lit up with an official email. "We are pleased to inform you that your essay has been selected as the grand prize winner." He stared at the screen for a full minute before the reality sank in. First place, $10,000. A trip to Washington, D.C. for the awards ceremony, and the right to dedicate the prize to anyone he chose. He drove straight to Micah's apartment without calling first. Alex opened the door, took one look at Ryder's face, and stepped aside. Micah was at the kitchen table grading old papers out of habit. Ryder thrust the printed email into his hands. "I won, and I'm dedicating it to you." Micah read the words twice. Then he stood and pulled Ryder into a brief, fierce hug, the kind between men who understand each other without needing to explain. "You didn't have to do that." "I did," Ryder said, "because you showed me what real courage looks like." The next days blurred. Ryder's father tried to forbid the trip, but his mother stood firm for the first time in years. Micah's suspension hearing was scheduled for the same week as the awards. The school board had hoped the story would fade, but the national win brought fresh reporters to Portland. Headlines shifted from scandal to student honors, suspended teacher. Micah spent long evenings talking with Alex about whether to fight or walk away. Alex reminded him of the life they had built, the quiet dinners, the weekend hikes, the way Micah's laugh still made everything feel possible. "You've already won," Alex said one night. "The kids know who you are. That matters more than any board vote." Ryder, meanwhile, prepared his acceptance speech. He practiced in front of the mirror, trying to capture the exact feeling of that classroom moment when Mr. Reynolds had simply told the truth. The words came easier than he expected because they were honest. The night before the hearing, Ryder showed up at Micah's door again, this time with a small flash drive. "My speech. I want you to hear it first." They sat on the couch, Alex in the kitchen, giving them space. Ryder read aloud the part where he described a teacher who never asked for thanks, but gave every student the courage to be seen. When he finished, Micah was quiet for a long time. "You're going to change lives with that speech, Ryder. And you already changed mine, sir." The school board hearing filled the auditorium with parents, teachers, and a handful of journalists. Micah sat at the front table wearing the same blue tie. Alex sat in the third row, hands folded tight. Ryder had wanted to attend, but the awards ceremony in D.C. was the next day, so he watched a live stream from his hotel room instead. One by one, speakers rose. Some demanded Micah's permanent removal, citing community values. Others, a growing number of parents and former students, spoke of the difference he had made. The binder Ryder had compiled was passed around until the board members looked uncomfortable. Micah delivered his statement simply. "I never brought my personal life into the classroom. I only brought honesty when a student asked for it. If that makes me unfit, then the real question is what kind of example we want for our children." The board recessed for deliberation. Outside in the hallway, Micah's phone buzzed. It was Ryder calling from D.C. "They're about to call my name. I just wanted you to know I'm saying your name first." The hearing resumed. The superintendent cleared his throat. "After careful review, the board has decided to lift the suspension. Mr. Reynolds will return to his position effective immediately with a formal apology from the district. The room erupted. Micah felt Alex's hand on his shoulder, and for the first time in weeks he breathed without the weight of fear. Across the country, Ryder stood on a brightly lit stage in Washington, the national trophy heavy in his hands. Cameras flashed as he began his speech. "This award doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to Mr. Micah Reynolds, my teacher at Lincoln High. He taught me that the bravest thing any of us can do is stop hiding. Because of him, I'm not hiding anymore. This prize is for the man who risked everything so his students could learn to live truthfully." The audience rose in applause. Back in Portland, the live stream chat exploded with hearts and proud messages. The story spread faster than the original scandal ever had. Micah returned to room 214 on Monday to find the walls covered in welcome back posters and the desks arranged exactly as he had left them. Students filed in quietly at first, then the questions came tumbling out. He answered every one with the same calm honesty that had started everything. After school, Ryder waited by the door. He had flown back overnight, the trophy tucked in his carry-on. "I brought it," he said simply. "It's yours as much as mine." They walked to the football field and sat on the bleachers watching the team practice in the distance. Ryder told Micah about the conversation with his father the night before the trip, how the old man had finally said, "I don't understand it, but I'm proud you stood up." Micah shared how Alex had proposed quietly over breakfast the morning after the hearing, no ring, just a promise and a shared future. The sun dipped low, painting the sky orange. Ryder looked at his teacher and saw not just a mentor, but a man who had fought the same battles and won. "I used to think I had to choose between who I was and who I wanted to be. You showed me I could be both." Micah smiled. "And you reminded me why it was worth the fight." That weekend, the local paper ran a follow-up feature with a photo of Micah and Ryder holding the trophy together. The caption read, "Teacher and student prove courage is contagious." Alex moved in officially the following month. Micah hung the national trophy on the classroom shelf where every new group of students would see it on the first day. Ryder graduated 2 months later, valedictorian speech full of gratitude and quiet pride. Graduation day arrived warm and bright. Ryder stood on stage in cap and gown looking out at the sea of families. When it was his turn to speak, he kept it short. "To Mr. Reynolds, thank you for teaching us that the hardest truths are the ones worth telling. Because of you, I'm walking into my future without fear." Later at the reception, Micah found him near the punch bowl. They shook hands, then pulled each other into the same fierce hug from months earlier. "You did it," Micah said. "We did it," Ryder corrected. Alex stood nearby, smiling, the new engagement ring catching the light. Ryder's mother took photos while his father hung back, but nodded with something close to respect. As the crowd thinned, Micah and Ryder stepped outside into the evening air. The school building glowed behind them, windows dark except for room 214, where the trophy still sat on the shelf. "I'm moving to Seattle for college," Ryder said. "But I'll come back. Some people you don't outgrow." Micah nodded. "And some lessons you carry forever." They stood shoulder to shoulder watching the last cars leave the parking lot. Two men at different stages of the same journey, one just beginning, the other still learning that the fight never really ends, it only changes shape. In the quiet, Micah felt the last piece of fear slip away. Ryder felt the first real freedom settle in his chest. Neither needed to say it aloud. The story had already written itself in the lives they had chosen to live honestly. In the end, this story isn't about perfect endings or easy victories. It's about two men who refused to let fear write their futures. Micah taught an entire school that honesty still matters, and Ryder proved that gratitude can be louder than any scandal. The real lesson is simple. When you stand up for your truth, someone else finds the courage to stand beside you. And that changes everything.